The former head of Scotland's police watchdog explains why he reversed a plan to allow the Chief Constable to return to work after he'd met the Justice Secretary. The former chair of the Scottish Police Authority says the Justice Secretary told him it was a bad decision to allow Chief Constable Phil Gormley to return to work while still under investigation for misconduct. But Andrew Flanagan told MSPs he was never explicitly asked to change his mind. Tonight, Mr Gormley's lawyer called for a fundamental review of the investigation. Stephen Godden reports.
A new day at Holyrood. More questions about the absence of Scotland's most senior police officer.
Still planning to join?
Phil Gormley denies a series of complaints made against him. He remains on special leave, but in November he was set to return until the Scottish Police Authority reversed a unanimous board decision. They did so after the Justice Secretary met this man, Andrew Flanagan, the SPA chair at the time, who today offered some fresh detail.
He told me that he thought it was a bad decision. It was clear to me that he did not want the Chief Constable to return at that point.
Andrew Flanagan described it as a short meeting. A few hours later, he said the pair met for a second time. Once again, the meeting was unminuted, but this time there were civil servants in the room.
It was clear that the Cabinet Secretary was still very unhappy, but he changed to discuss the process rather than the decision itself.
Michael Matheson.
Yesterday, the Justice Secretary insisted he hadn't abused his position, but had raised entirely legitimate questions.
That includes seeking assurances that the well-being of individuals involved in the complaints had been considered and appropriate bodies had been consulted.
Today, Andrew Flanagan told MSPs he hadn't explicitly been asked to change his mind.
I couldn't say that I had been directed to, but the position I was in, I felt I wasn't in a position to move forward with that decision.
So you felt you had no choice but to pause the decision?
Yes.
In response to the evidence, Labour said Michael Matheson should consider his position.
Where he then raised
There were exchanges too at First Minister's questions.
So the independent chair of an independent body has two meetings with the Justice Secretary, where in the first he's told he's made a bad decision, and after the second he's left in no doubt that he has to reverse it. How can that possibly tally with what SNP ministers have claimed in recent weeks?
First Minister.
Andrew Flanagan clearly said that he hadn't been requested by the Justice Secretary to change his decision, and he wasn't directed to do so. Questions were asked, and as I said last week, and I repeat again today, I absolutely am of the view that the Justice Secretary was right to ask those questions.
With seemingly no resolution in sight, tonight Phil Gormley's lawyers said the Chief Constable's professional reputation, career and welfare had been eclipsed by a public battle of wills. Describing the investigation as unworkable, they added it is hard to see how any fair process can follow given such public disagreement. Stephen Godden, reporting Scotland.